I think the minute I stepped on a practice field for rugby, the calling happened.
An 8-year plan to be on the team. And I was in it within 2 years.
Don't wait until you are a pro to be a pro. Right.
And I walk around with a rugby ball sometimes and they're like, what is this child on?
It looked like it was a heavy hit.
It's up, it's not up.
You know, that's the first time I played like professionally.
I'm making rugby money. How can I make money outside of it?
And there's two Scottish guys and they said, oh, you're here for the movie.
That rugby is a game for all shapes and sizes, all cultural aspects.
He looked at me and he says, you guys are awesome.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Rugby Swag. My name is GiftTime and Bailu, and breaking news, USA Rugby, MLR and World Rugby are breaking up? What? Yo, did you see the Rugby World Cup results from this past week? What? USA Rugby has a new general manager for high performance. Get the out of here, and so much more that we're going to be talking about in this show today. But before we get started, I need you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, and if you have not already done it, go ahead so you can keep up to date on any new shows or episodes that come out. Of course, the tags and everything that goes on along with it. And of course, please check us out on our social media, Instagram.com/rugbyswag, or just search at Rugby Swag. And on Facebook and Twitter, X, go ahead and check out at GiftTime Rugby to be able to get updates and to just be able to communicate and send your information through. Y'all, I mean, you gotta let your friends know. We are not the lowest rated show in rugby because we want everybody. We just want the best. And that's the way we need you to send it. I need you to send it out to those people. All right? That's how we keep keeping it tight. But other than that, let's keep it between us, all right? I love it. I hope you guys have had a good week. I had a good week, man. I enjoyed the hell out of this past weekend of games, and there's just so much happening within a short period of time. So, you know what? I'm not going to hold us any longer. Let's go ahead and get it started. So, for our first story of the day, man, this is breaking news. It happened last week, Friday, I believe. A little message that got thrown out on X. You know, whenever a person is trying to kind of be a whistleblower, but it's not to anything that's mind-blowingly important and you don't actually know who this person is. That's what kind of happened this past weekend whenever it was announced that RugbyPass, aka World Rugby, and the Rugby Network were no longer going to be in partnership with each other. What now? I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but the Rugby Network, the famous streaming channel that is used to be able to stream Major League Rugby matches, have been done for high school matches, has a little bit of content here and there, but primarily has been the depository for Major League Rugby matches over the course of the last couple years. They were actually in partnership with RugbyPass that had basically helped them set up the infrastructure for what their streaming service is going to be. RugbyPass last year got purchased by World Rugby, and so under it all, it was under the guise of World Rugby being the purchaser. Now, the thing is, the Rugby Network is trying to go into a different direction, slightly different direction. Ironically, RugbyPass is also going to it. We talked about it in a previous episode with RugbyPass.tv being announced and World Rugby working to be able to be a media hub. If you guys have been watching the Rugby World Cup consistently, you guys can see that a lot of extended highlights, a lot of documents, basically a lot of stuff that would have been on RugbyPass, which formerly was a subscription service, now is ending up on RugbyPass.tv, which is a quote-unquote free-to-air service. So anybody can access without having to pay for it. But the rumor of this is, and don't hold me to it, this is just a little bit of research. You never know. The Rugby Network is looking to try and get some subscriptions under their belts. They're really trying to change. And a lot of that news goes into them getting the Gallagher Premiership Rugby matches from Europe and trying to put it on the platform. Now, clearly they are trying to increase viewership and actually do something with it. But why does that have to do anything with removing themselves from World Rugby Pass? Well, apparently they weren't able to do subscriptions at the time. And so if you're getting matches like this, they are clearly aiming to try and build at least something bigger. And the Rugby Network is owned by all the owners of the Major League Rugby, teams themselves. So this is going to be an interesting direction where is there going to be some bigger advantages that Major League Rugby is going to try and take advantage of in terms of developing media, developing better content. There's been talks that they did articles and stuff. Maybe. I don't remember ever seeing them, but, you know, there's some people that have said that they did, which is cool. You know, do what they got to do. But I have to say I'm genuinely impressed by the owners in disassociating themselves from World Rugby at this point. I do hope that they have a bigger vision for it, but, man, I'm happy for that because I don't like World Rugby having their fingers in everything. And clearly World Rugby has a vision that they're trying to do on a global scale that is kind of about, you know, trying to run the media space for rugby in general. There is a little bit of a negative, though, and this goes back to the Gallagher Premiership rights. My concern in that is that the Gallagher Premiership was actually available on Peacock for a while. You know, NBC has been gobbling up all the rugby rights up until, I think, at least 2040, give or something, and for the Rugby World Cups and the Junior Rugby World Cups. And they had the Gallagher Premiership as well, but they dropped it. And that speaks to a little bit of the viewing audience. Now, obviously, the Rugby Network has a pure rugby audience that's going to be watching it, so probably a little less carriage and more subscription can be based from that. But I'm hoping that they're not building their support of a subscription system on just that alone, because if they are, I think they're going to feel the same kind of disappointment that clearly Comcast, NBC, Peacock felt with that same premiership. And, you know, we also know, you know, it's not necessarily the most interesting, you know, professional league in the world either, but it definitely is still one that has a lot of impact within world rugby, or the rugby world itself. So I'm interested to see where the Rugby Network is going to go with that. I'm interested to see how far they decide to take the Rugby Network, because obviously as a streaming platform, you know, there is a lot of ceiling in terms of your control and what you can do with it. But if you don't know how to use it right, or you don't use it right, or use it in the most minimalistic way, you may not get the returns that you want from it, especially if you're trying to put things behind a paywall. And that's where we got a little bit of concerns going into it. But that being said, hey, I still stand by this. Separate yourself from Rugbypass, from World Rugby. Let them go do their thing. You go do your thing, because you got your own battle that's going to have to be faced with that. And this is at least a place where you continue to develop the autonomy. So shout out to that. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments, or hit me up in the DMs, at Rugby Swag Show on IG. Definitely let me know what the thoughts are with that. Yo, I'm going to let you get right back to it, but I want to talk to you about one of my favorite brands that are out there right now. Actually, I'm going to show you right quick. This is ketogenic coconut bread mix. This is a specialty flour blend that allows me to be able to eat almost whatever cakes that I want. Now, coconut is not typically one of my favorite flavors, but this has absolutely killed. And it's not just because it has great taste, not because it's just easy to make, but it's because it is absolutely not going to destroy my stomach. It is gluten-free, but not nasty. This is something that has been going on, and this company, Health Enhanced Food, has so many other options to be able to do and provide and customize to the needs that I want it to. And this is something that I think we all know, especially in this world. It's hard to eat grain flour nowadays. It's not good. It's destroying the stomach. People are getting new diseases, and you need to have some new alternatives. So I suggest definitely go check out Health Enhanced Foods. See what kind of bread you can make. And no, it takes 20 minutes to be able to make something from it. They have a slew of options, and they are well knowledgeable in the ingredients. Everything is transparent. Everything is made in the U.S. and then some. So in the meantime, if you guys could support the show and go to Health Enhanced Food, and you can use coupon code RugbySwag to be able to get 10% off your first purchase order. That's Rugby Swag. And you guys can go ahead and get your bread journey going on today. That's just your cakes, your pies, your bread, and of course, with Thanksgiving and Christmas coming around, you're going to need it. HealthEnhancedFoods.com. Let's get back to it. We had one of the interesting Rugby World Cups matches this past weekend. You know, this is week 3 that we're in talking about, and you know, I'm not gonna say that there wasn't an upset. There was disappointment, I think, obviously, but the games, I think, went most of the way that they're supposed to. But let's go do a quick review on what it is that I had said for last week versus what's going to be going on this week. Let's get this. Let's hit that music, baby. All right, first game up, man. We had Italy versus Uruguay. Now, I had said that this game was going to end up being a Italy 30, Uruguay 15 game, simply because of the fact that Italy is clearly far better than the highest tier 2 teams, but way worse than a lower end tier 1 team. So I assumed that they would have a little bit of a struggle early on, especially coming off of a break from play. But I think ultimately they were going to end up dominating this game. And guess what? Boom! Final score ended up being Italy 38, Uruguay 17. I was 2 points off, give or take. 2 points and 8 points off. But really the thing that really stood out was that I was even correct about the first half. Uruguay was up 17-6 in the first half to be able to take it, because Uruguay had the momentum on their side coming off of such a close game against France. Like, how can you not come in with that confidence? But of course, as it always goes, the cream always rises to the top. And Italy absolutely took it up in the second half and completely dominated Uruguay the rest of that game. They woke up and did their thing. So there was no surprise about what was going to end up being the results from that game. So boom, we got that one. Next up, we have France versus Namibia. Now, I said before that last week, this wasn't a game. You know, it's not a game. Namibia had already shown that they are not on par with anybody in this competition, especially in their group. And France absolutely was going to show out for the embarrassment that they felt from playing such a close game against Uruguay. And they 100% took it out on Namibia. Now, it doesn't also help the fact that DuPont, their scrum half captain, broke his jaw on the head of a Namibian player off the tackle in the 44th minute of the match. So you lose your captain to a team that you don't have much respect for in terms of gameplay, and they turned it up. I thought this game was going to be 90-3 France over Namibia. Just knew it was going to be an absolute blowout. Didn't realize I was going to be as close as I was. Game ended up being France 96, Namibia 0. Yeah, they really let it all out on them people right there. Next up, we had Argentina versus Samoa. Now, last week, I said I thought Samoa was going to end up pulling off something like what Fiji did. They had a tough game against England early on. Made sense, you know, tough to do. They had a great game against Chile last week, and I know they played a tough game against England the week before. So I figured, hey, you got your legs underneath you. You're finally kind of finding yourself once again. Argentina, I don't know exactly who they are in the sense of they haven't been playing like what we expected them to play. You know, they haven't been really good. They haven't been bad. We had a disappointment against England, and then they were on break the week before. So who knows? But I expected this to be a close game, but I thought Samoa was going to take this 20-10 over Argentina, really showing what it means for the islands to be able to get their players back and then be able to move forward from there. But, watching Samoa, again, I mean, they're a solid defensive team. But also, Argentina really doesn't play as hard as we've seen them play in the past. But this game still ended up being favorable to Argentina. Argentina ended up winning this 19-10 to Samoa's 10. So I basically flipped the scores in my initial prediction. Got it wrong, but had flipped the scores in that. I'm not impressed. It wasn't an impressive match. Argentina, I felt if they were going to do anything, they should have been able to dominate because I think they slightly do have the upper hand. But again, Samoa, I guess watching Fiji all this time, you would think that because Samoan players are able to play for Samoa again, you'd see the elevation go up. But I'm not feeling it from that Samoan team. And Argentina just is underperforming. Even though they got the win, I still think they're underperforming like crazy. And I don't know what's going to happen with them moving forward, but yeah, we have it for that. Next up, we had Georgia taking on Portugal. Now, this is what I call the bottom bowl. Georgia and Portugal absolutely are not doing anything in this stage. They're not going to be moving on to the playoffs. I know we say knockout stage, but we Americanize it here, so it's the playoffs. But I thought Georgia had a much better 15s team than Portugal. I know Portugal's been playing fluidly in their game, still getting beat, but they seem like they know what they're doing. And they do have actually very speedy backs. But I always thought Georgia was a more powerful team, better control ball, and they were just capable of being able to do more over the stage. I'd said in the past, I thought Georgia was the next best 15s team in the region next to Italy. Still above and beyond, Italy is above and beyond, but Georgia would have been the next one up. And I predicted that this game was going to end up being Georgia 30, Portugal 10. Well, that was not the case. Man, Portugal was able to slice through that Georgia team. Even honestly, Georgia's scrums were not as strong and as powerful as I thought they were. Now, I got told from a friend of mine that a lot of Georgian players play for France, and a lot of those French top 14 teams were not allowing their players to go play for Georgia for the Rugby World Cup. I don't know why, but apparently it seems to be the case. But that being said, it led to Georgia and Portugal tying 18-18. Portugal had a chance to be able to win, but was not able to make the kick. And look, kicking is the name of the game in this Rugby World Cup because it is making a difference in a lot of these major games. And I don't know if it's ever made this much of a difference before in the past. But I will say Portugal plays better than I expected, and Georgia did underperform to what my expectations were. But at the same time, these are still two tier 2 teams that are trying to find their way up. And honestly, it gives a little rise to what could be the possible future going into 2027 and subsequently 2031 and 2035 moving forward. Next, we had England versus Chile. And again, England, they're on a mission. Remember, I still feel like they have the most punchable energy in rugby, just the way they go about things. But this is a game that I think was going to be easy for them. Chile has not been a competition for anybody that they've played, really. And England is definitely trying to warm up, trying to hold on to that number 1 spot. They were not the ones that I expected to come out of this round. To be perfect, I didn't think they would be coming out of the group stage, but they've clearly established themselves as being the number 1 seed in this stage for Pool C. So I look at them and I said, hey, this is going to be a blowout. England 60, Chile 0. Well, I wasn't totally off. England ended up wiping Chile off the planet. England 71-0. I was off by 11, and it wasn't for Chile's side. That was tough. I thought Chile was gonna at least get 3 points on there, but man, almost makes you feel glad that the U.S. did not end up going to this, because that would have been our spot right there too if we had beat Chile. All right, next up was a game that I think easily was the best game of the week, and I think is, oh my God, I hope it's a championship game again, with South Africa versus Ireland. Now, I said like 2 weeks ago whenever France and New Zealand played against each other. I thought that was a boring game until the last 20 minutes. Like it didn't feel like anybody was really going to do much, right? This South Africa versus Ireland game, right off the bat, hits, powerful. I honestly came into this with the expectation that South Africa was the best team in the tournament, and despite Ireland having the number 1 position. But their biggest issue for South Africa was going to be their kicking. And man, we saw it. I expected this game initially to be South Africa 14, Ireland 10. All right. Knew it was going to be a close game. Knew this was going to be a drag-out battle. These two teams facing each other again for the second time in a year, and once again in the Northern Hemisphere. But, oh, man, it was good. But that kicking game really actually played into a negative for it. South Africa would end up losing 8-13 against Ireland. And honestly, that 8-13 is really because of kicking. Now, people will say that there was 4 kicks that were missed that impacted South Africa, but I'll say there was only 3 that were actually missed that actually hurt South Africa. Because the first missed kick was actually advantageous because it put South Africa into a position to get their first and only try of the game. So you got to wipe that. I'll take it 5 over 3 any day. The thing that hit it off of that try was the missed kick by Fief de Klerk on the conversion. Like, what in the F? I'm sorry. That was, by Fief de Klerk on the conversion. Like, how do you miss the conversion? All right, like that one was a must because that would have put that game up 10-3. And there is a completely different mindset that goes into how you play at 10-3 versus 8-3. And for this South Africa-Ireland game, like all the points matter when it's done. After that, we had the drop kick by Kirk de Fife, and then we had another penalty kick missed by Lovett. And it's just like, man, South Africa, in my opinion, dominated Ireland's defensive line and Ireland's forwards. In fact, I would even make the argument that even though South Africa lost Max Manili, their hooker, their original hooker, I think that the guy that they lost him in the previous game, but I think that the guys that they put in the second half of the game were far better front 3 than the ones that they put in the first half itself. And I was like the South Africa team is actually really pushing around this Ireland team. I said I didn't know who Ireland was in terms of like the way that they're playing. Like, who are they? Are they really a battering team? Are they a speed team? Are they opening things up? And honestly, I still don't really know who they are, except for they're probably one of the, if not the best defenses from the 5 to the goal line. Like, their defense between the 5 and the goal line was top notch. Their defense between the 5s, I was like, South Africa absolutely was gutting through them. I don't think South Africa is a worse team, and them getting to be the second seed most likely out of this group is, man, it's questionable. But you play the game to see you win to play the game. You play to win the game, right? Like, this isn't about what you expect or what is theoretical. It is exactly what happens on the field. So this one was a toughie to be able to watch because of South Africa's inability to take advantage of the small points, whereas Ireland absolutely did. They only got 1 try off the edge, and honestly, even that one was like, but those kicks, they made the kicks that they were supposed to make, and that's what makes a difference in the game. And it wasn't even like Ireland started gaining momentum. South Africa was in it. South Africa might be the best team. I like, if they can get their kicking right, I think they're the best team in Rugby World Cup and very likely for a repeat championship. All right, next up we had Scotland versus Tonga. All right, I didn't have high expectations. Tonga's just not a very good team. It's a lower tier 2 team. strong heart, but not much. I expected this game to be 35-9 Scotland win over Tonga. Yo, Tonga came in with more heart than I gave him credit for. Because even though Scotland scored slightly more than what I expected, Tonga actually did some work out there. And Scotland, the final score was Scotland 45, Tonga 17. So, big shout out to them. Scotland's got a big match against Ireland that's going to determine a lot of who the seeding is because, it's anybody's game. Scotland is not one to sniff against, and they do also have a great defensive hold. They are great tacklers. But, we'll see. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Then the last game of the week of this past weekend was Wales versus Australia. Now, we knew the stories that go, and there's even more to it that comes afterward, which we'll talk about. But, Australia had just come off losing to Fiji. And honestly, I wasn't surprised by the loss to Fiji. But, Australia, now their future was no longer in their hands. Wales has already been topping the stage with 2 wins. And, what was going to happen? I said this was the third time Australia and Wales are going to meet up in the group stage. And right now it was 1-1. I predicted that this was going to be a very close game, and it was going to be a slogged-out battle. That Wales would end up overtaking 16-9 in that game. Well, I was wrong. Australia sucks. I mean, I've said it before that they've been a slowly downfallen program for the last decade. Like, since I know 2015 was 8 years ago. So, but it's since getting to that second runner-up position for Rugby World Cup 2015. The country and its rugby union has been dropping, and it showed out in this game when Wales absolutely dominated Australia 40-6 in the game. And honestly, Australia does not look impassioned. And I didn't know the news beforehand it happened, but it makes sense as to why Australia just didn't care, and especially the people that was left behind. Eddie Jones definitely is feeling all the heat, but I put it on the players as well too. Like, y'all sucked. I mean, I know you don't have 3 of your best veterans, but my God, y'all are still been playing forever. You are still a generationally dominant team. I'd expect you guys to fight. But man, Wales was just kicking Australia's ass the entire time, and it's just Australia didn't want to be there, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and Australia is definitely not gonna make it up to the group stage. They're not making it to the playoffs, and it'll be the first time in Rugby World Cup history. That is 36 years of Rugby World Cup timing that Australia will not make it on to the playoffs and get out of group stage, and that is a hit. Australia, man, pandemic hurt you guys, but y'all were a sinking ship for a long time. So, all right, that's all we got for the recap for today. Let's go on, because this next story is going to add another enlightenment to what we got going on with Australia. Before I let you guys get back to it, I want you guys to go check out rugbyoutletmall.com. Yo, this is the place where we are bringing in casual rugby wear. We're trying to set up the designs, make sure that we are giving you something to represent rugby. That's not just a jersey, and that's not just your kit. It is something that you and your friends and your mama and your kids and your parents and your best friend and your wife and your husband and your boyfriend and girlfriend and your they, and just make sure that everybody is able to rock some rugby gear without having to necessarily be stuck to any one type of rugby gear. We want it for your day-to-day, everyday life. I know that's redundant, but that's how beautiful we want it to be. Definitely check out our most recent update, our Rugby Swag Show shirts. They're available now for purchase. You guys can get it, and for any first-time buyers, I'm talking to you. Yo, I'm giving you guys 20% off the first purchase. Take as many as you want, 20% off the first purchase. And of course, if you guys get on the newsletter, you guys are going to see more coupons and discounts that come along with that as well too. But 20% off, and all you guys need to use is coupon code GROWRUGBY. That is GREAUX Rugby. Great quality gear, definitely something for your present, something to be able to give. Obviously, we just got past the year, so that means birthdays are coming out. Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and you have so much more. Yo, hook your family, hook your people up with what's right. Hook your people up with what's right. Go to rugbyoutletmall.com and enjoy out, and of course, it helps support the show and our media endeavors. Let's get you back. Y'all, if you are trying to be able to get your name out, whether it's for business, whether it's for work, whether you're just trying to do something personal for a friend or family, you need to stop utilizing social media as the sole place where you put all your stuff. You don't know when the algorithms are going to change on you, and you don't know whenever the rules are going to change. So what seemed like it was okay yesterday might not be today. And what does that mean? You need to have your own home, and that means having your own website. That's where Green Geeks comes into play. Now, Green Geeks is the place where you can create and build your website in the cleanest host in the game. I'm talking about environmentally. Not only that, they'll provide you with a free domain name and free template builder so that you don't even have to think about having to create your website. I've used Green Geeks for almost a decade now, and I have been so satisfied by everything that they've been able to provide for me. No matter whether or not I know what I'm doing or I don't, they have 24/7 support for me every single time I need a question answered, or I need something to be changed, or I need to be updated on any information. And the best part about this is that I'm not limited to any of the websites that are need to be used. It uses a WordPress foundation, which allows me to have access to limitless amounts of templates that are available to be able to use for any version of a website that I want to have. And the best thing about it, it costs me less than $5 per month to do. And that can be the same for you. All I needed to do is click the link in the bio. If you're listening, definitely click it in the description. And if you're watching, definitely click it in the description as well. But you guys, this is something that everybody should do. You don't have to just do e-commerce. Your website is the place where you have control over what you want. That's your house, not their house. And go ahead and get that with Green Geeks. Once again, click the link in the description to be able to get your first year at under $5 per month. Guys, it's the best decision. I'm telling you. Let's get back to it. Now, coming back on some World Rugby news, man, let's talk some Eddie Jones, because it was brought up right before the Wales-Australia match that Eddie Jones, all right, the head coach currently for Australia, came in earlier this year, was told, hey, man, let's shape up and ship up this Australian team that has been failing consistently from the Kiwi that was coaching for us just this last 4 or 5 years. And this hasn't been a good experiment so far. I think the people from England have been joyous. People from Australia have been punching poisonous snakes best they can to try and antagonize them, to make them end this pain that they're feeling from watching Australia. But this one really put the nail in the coffin, to say the least. And that was Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones out here taking interviews from Japan. Bruh. Eddie Jones is taking interviews from Japan Rugby Union about taking over as their national coach, the national team coach again. And if you guys don't know, just before Eddie joined England, Eddie Jones had helped lead Japan, especially in sevens, to a third-place finish with surprising wins over South Africa. And then in 2019 for the Rugby World Cup, absolutely upsetting teams to a top 5 finish for Japan. Like, Eddie Jones coached the hell out of a really good Japan team and brought them to where they needed to be, which is where we started to see England call up Eddie Jones and say, hey, let's help bring up our program again because we having difficulties. And for what it's worth, you do what you got to do. You do what you got to do. But, man, Eddie Jones just – I don't think that this is a win-win situation for anybody, to be honest with you. For Australia, to expect that a guy who, even though he previously coached for you, he's definitely not a fan favorite with your people. You definitely needed a spark. You definitely were falling. You definitely needed to make some major moves, but you just didn't have enough time to do what you needed to do. And then, of course, Eddie Jones trying to, speed up the process and get ready for 2027, as they say, as they get ready for Australia to be able to host and to bring in new guys into test and not really get to bring the best so that you can try and compete at this Rugby World Cup. Like, it's just, there's no wins over here for anybody. Australia Rugby Union has been terrible. There's been so much overcorrection in trying to invest into Super Rugby and work this top down, which isn't necessarily bad whenever you're building celebrity, but it's terrible whenever you're not replenishing your own base. And Australia is a country that actually has sporting options. Cricket is their number one sport. Rugby league has absolutely taken over, and they have done a great job in creating Flash. That is an entertainment product right there that I am shocked that nobody has tried to continue to emulate in rugby union, because they do a fantastic job in putting together a entertainment product with rugby and play great rugby league rugby out there. And then, of course, you got soccer, you got basketball, and you got Australian rules football. So you're competing against a lot of options. You only are a country of about 22 million people, 25 million people. Most of your team, your rugby union's team, are coming from 2 states, and you're doing a horrible job in feeding into your community game, which has been what's fed into your professional game, which is what feeds into your national team. And you're just losing. And top of the fact that you've been taking people from Fiji and the islands as well, and you're still not able to compensate. And then, of course, the pandemic comes. You almost go broke. Like, it has been a bad series of decisions and plays and entitlement for Australian Rugby Union. And the Eddie Jones situation and what's happening with Australia now isn't the cause. It's simply a symptom of those bad decisions either way. So even though Eddie Jones, it's kind of jacked up that you're taking calls in the middle of group stage play while your team is underperforming, that's wild. That's wildly disrespectful. But, I mean, it's just a layer of nonsense on top of the bullshit that Australia Rugby Union has been dealing with and going through and presenting all together. So that being said, if the punishment for the U.S. for underperforming and not taking our rugby serious and not doing a great job in creating a better grassroots community while also creating so much infighting and bullshit means that we didn't get to go to the Rugby World Cup this year, Australia gets punished by the reality that they're not impervious. Like, they absolutely are not impervious to losing, and being unable to move on to the playoffs is a huge slap in the face, and I hope this ends up being the wake-up call for them. I hope it ends up being the wake-up call. Who knows? I want to hear your thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys are thinking on this one, because this is something right there. This is something. So this one's a little bit of an interesting one for me because, as we get to this next story, it speaks again, USA Rugby, and, we're trying to get our stuff together, but this week, USA Rugby made a hire. Technically last week, they made a hire for a general manager for the high-performance camps. Now, if you guys know, high performance means, the USA 7s team, the USA 15s national team, this element of it. And, we've been working on creating a system to be able to attract and bring and develop players from the grassroots side, whether the club, high school, collegiate, academy sides and find ways to be able to funnel them so you can hopefully get the best talent. Well, USA Rugby decided to invest in yet another non-American. Apparently, they said they went through 50 people, and of those 50 people, Tamara Shepard ended up winning and getting the job as general manager for high performance. Looking at what USA Rugby wrote, it seems like she was a high performance manager for Australian swimming, and was able to do a lot of great competitions for that. Got several golds, created an elite level to be able to go with. I mean, it's an interesting pick. I don't know anything about her, so let me not criticize. Maybe she legitimately is a great pick, and there was nobody in the U.S. to be able to do it. But, you get to this point where you're just like, dude, how incompetent are we in rugby that we got nobody in the U.S. can do anything with rugby? But like, we're bringing people not even from rugby into the rugby sphere, but we're bringing a swimming person that creates a structure. And I mean, I am not against, I'm not nationalistic like that. Competitively, yes. I'm not nationalistic like that where it's like, no, you can't do it. But I find it incredibly strange that the U.S. that is perennially, or at least quadriennially, every 4 years, a competitor in just about any major sport, basketball, swimming, whatever, of all those people that have created a perfect lineup of systems to pull from the high school through the collegiate into the Olympic sports performance camps, you couldn't find anybody from the U.S. to be able to help with the systems? And at least another person? Like, is this because they're using academy systems in Australia? Like, I don't get it. I don't really get it. And I wonder if this is something that World Rugby had a hand in, because World Rugby is puppeteering USA Rugby to an extent. They still get decision making. They might not be puppeteering. I remember the conversation that Ross Young had several months back about the state of USA Rugby. But there's decisions being made, and I find it weird. It's like going to, I don't know. It's like going to New Zealand to be able to find somebody to show us. Well, I can't really say that because Tai Waititi does this thing, but to be able to, direct a Hollywood franchise altogether and take Tai Waititi out of the equation. It's like going to England to be able to tell us how to run the NFL. Like, it feels very weird because, like, oh, yeah, they have a system, but, we're the entertainment capital of the world. I don't think anybody can deny that. Obviously, there's influences everywhere else, but the U.S. is an entertainment capital of the world. The U.S. is arguably probably the highest spender in sports in the world overall, especially non-governmentally. And you couldn't find anybody to help organize the high performance system, like to be the general manager. I mean, kudos. It just seems a little odd to me. That's all I'm saying. Just seems a little odd, but it is what it is. Sometimes it is what it is. But congratulations to Tamara Shepard. I hope she does a good job, and I hope that it really does work out, because we need to see our teams come back, and we really need to find a way to be dominant in the world in rugby, because these people really are talking too much, and I'm just not liking it anymore. It's not funny anymore to me. It's a little funny, but not funny in that way. Yeah. Yo, and for this next one, hey, this is going to be a regular thing, because if you guys know me, you guys been following me, I am an HBCU rugby guy, all right? This is my passion, my love. I love these guys that have been playing and developing and building HBCU rugby, so a lot of what I'm doing is going to be centered around developing that area of rugby specifically. And so I wanted to actually give a little bit of a shift over, and we're going to talk some HBCU rugby. Schedules will come out. for the ones that are able to, that have their schedules ready. And this week, we got our first HBCU rugby matches. First and foremost, the Division II defending runner-up champions of the nation, Howard University Women's Rugby. They are going to be taking on their first D1 team in their team history as they go and face off against University of North Carolina. I think this is a great match. I know that we saw a great Cinderella program happen last year with Howard University women's team. They completely demolished their competition in their area in Division II, and then ended up getting really beat down by a very experienced team out of California. And so going into this year, obviously the best way to be able to make up and be able to come back strong is that you got to up your competition, because you got to know how to play with the best above you so that you can take on the best within your league. So I love this move for University. I love this move for Howard University. I love this move for University of North Carolina. Not to take away from it, I know North Carolina hasn't been exactly the most dominant team in D1. If you guys know, I'm sorry, University of North Carolina is in D1. But it's still good to be able to use them as a test track. See what it is, see where you're at early in this fall, because you want to be able to be ready for the spring and make sure that you have the women all set up. Kat Asanu, who you guys, I've interviewed on this, you guys can look back. She's got a focus and a vision and clearly knows what she's doing, bringing in people to be able to help with coaching and be able to continue to bring that Howard University women's team up to that next level and continue to make it a sustainable program. So a lot of kudos to them for taking this one on. So it's happening on the 30th. So that's Saturday. That's happening. Also happening on the 30th, you got Prairie View A&M starting their first match. And they're going to be taking on Stephen F. Austin. Again, Prairie View A&M is a team that has been, they're the second longest running HBCU program in the country, with Morehouse literally beating them by just months. But they are really actually looking to be able to make a little bit of a push. Again, it's a program that's growing, a Division II program that's developing and growing, and you're going to be seeing more of them because we're putting some time into them. Stephen F. Austin, solid team, typically always get some quick guys. It should be interesting. Another D2, it's like a D2 competition. But, it's a great warm-up, and it's great to be able to see them getting their thing started this fall. And that's all we want. Like, just get it up and running, and let's see how far we can take this. The other HBCU teams, Howard University men, they're going to be coming with their schedule. Morehouse College just entered into NCR, so big congratulations to them. So we get to be able to see who they're going to be competing against. I look forward to it because they've been levitating in the independent stage a little bit, and it's very difficult to find competition in that way, despite the fact that Georgia does have a lot of competition. Morehouse College is based in Atlanta, for those who don't know. But I am so happy for them finally entering into at least some college competition. NCR has been doing great things. So I'm looking forward to being able to see what they're going to be able to do. It's a talented team, well coached. My guy, Saifeddin Safir, doing a great job with trying to coach these guys and get the culture together and keep them going. It's been a great program overall. So look out for them and look out for more information that we're going to be keeping up with HBCU rugby and all that good stuff, because this is what I do and this is what we're going to be doing on this time. You feel me? All right. Yo, let's hit this commercial.
Hey everybody, this is just the break train sending out a personal little video diary to all you people out there, where I am going to document me riding most of the way between Singapore and Tokyo for the 2019 Rugby World Cup.
I needed help, and it came from Louisiana.
We in Singapore, baby!
Gift from GiftTime Rugby USA is a extroverted tour de force. But what unites us is a hunger for adventure.
Off to KL, Kuala Lumpur.
Gift, where are we?
We're in
Morning, Vietnam! Mount Fuji, baby!
Our love of Asian rugby culture.
1, 2, 3, center!
Rugby is starting to develop here in Cambodia for women as well.
Valkyries, the mighty, mighty Valkyries!
We're out here, we're running out of energy, we're running out of money, and we're feeling isolated. And yet at that critical moment, friends, family, sometimes complete strangers come on board. Before you know it, we're back in the game.
Tokyo, here we come!
Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam. Watch the full adventure at crugby.vhx.tv. That's C like SEE rugby.vhx.tv. All right, y'all, let's take a look at what these rugby predictions are going to be looking like for this week. We're at week 4 already. We got 2 weeks until the playoffs. Yo, it's about to get real over here, all right? So let's get it kicked off right away. First off, we got Uruguay taking on Namibia. Now, I said Uruguay is actually kind of a decent team. They're not good, but they're not bad either. Like, I actually think that they've built a lot of confidence off of this Rugby World Cup and actually have something to really build on being a top team in the Americas. That's both North and South America. But Namibia, look, I think Namibia has been over their skis from day one. They have not been able to keep up. This has been way and above, and kudos for them qualifying when they did. I look at Uruguay to be absolutely take it to Namibia. It's not going to be a runaway game, but it's not going to be a close game. Look at this to be 35-10 game, Uruguay over Namibia. Next up, we got Japan versus Samoa. Now, this is a game that's super important because both of these teams are going to be basically fighting for second position in their pool. Now, Japan, I think, has the upper hand on this. Samoa, I wasn't impressed with what they did against Argentina. Obviously, losing to Argentina, obviously losing to England doesn't help anything. But beating Chile, you know, adds a little bit of a little bit of flavoring that goes to it. So, when it comes to this Samoan team, I don't feel like they are the most dynamic team that you have here. I think they're great. They're a good defense. Good defense. They're weak in kicking, and I don't think they have any dynamic players. Japan, on the other hand, I think is actually keyed up to actually move on. I think they have far better backs than Samoa does. I don't think they're as strong with their defense, but I think they have better passers and they move the ball far quicker than Samoa does. Japan is going to be hungry to get this second position and go once again move into the playoff stages. Again, I look at Japan to actually win this. This is going to be a tough one in the beginning, and I think Japan runs away with it in the last 20 minutes. 25-10, Japan over Samoa. Next up, we got New Zealand taking on Italy. Now, this one, look, on paper, it's 2 Tier 1 teams that are facing against each other. In reality, New Zealand far surpasses Italy, and I even think New Zealand is weak this year. But Italy, while they have done a great job in beating up people that they're supposed to beat up, I don't think that they have the tools to be able to take on an actually fully equipped New Zealand team. I don't think this is going to be a blowout game, but I don't think this is going to be close either. I think Italy will put up a good fight because they do have good players. They have done some good stuff. But I think New Zealand has something to prove. Once again, they are on the edge. And if they lose this game, their future into moving into the knockout stage is out of their hands. All right, it's now on the onus that Italy would have to lose a significant game plus not get bonus points, which would be against France. I look at New Zealand to take this game and bring the full force, winning this game 40-25. I think Italy, obviously, like I said, Italy's going to bring its stuff because right now they're technically top of the bracket. I mean, what can you say? Go with it. We got Argentina going up against Chile. Now, I think historically, Argentina has absolutely wiped out Chile most of the time. But I think there's something special in this one. Number one, I don't feel like Argentina is bringing their best team. Like, they're not playing their best. And two, I feel like this is going to be a rivalry match. I mean, these are two countries that are right next to each other. It's like, yo, I'm not about to let my cousin come over here and take it from me. And I feel like Chile is trying to show something. I remember the celebration and the applause for that Chile coach whenever he beat the U.S. to be able to officially qualify for the Rugby World Cup. Like, I think they're going to bring that same energy to this Argentina match. One, because they don't have anything to lose. They've been blown out over and over and over against teams that are just significantly better than them. But also at the same time, yo, this is my brother next door, all right? I took your coastline and you took my interior world. I got some mountains, but you got most of them. Like, this is the battle of the bands right here, all right? And I think that this will be a closer game. That being said, I look at Argentina to actually end up taking this game. Definitely, again, second half runaway and just honestly talent superseding will. And Argentina getting this one at 35-16 match against Chile. 35-16. Next matchup is Fiji versus Georgia. All right, this isn't a game. All right, Fiji is basically slotting itself up for that second seed in their group. They are trying to move into the playoff stages for the third time in Rugby World Cup history, and like the first time in almost 30 years. So it's like, no, I don't think Fiji is about to bow down to Georgia. I don't think they're going to play down to Georgia. Georgia's a tough team, but I think Portugal showed they're not that great. Every team has kind of ran up against them. Again, they're scrappy. They play tough, but I think Fiji just simply has the skills, the power, the size. It's not even close. Look at this to be 48-5. It's Fiji over Georgia. We got Scotland taking on Romania next. Once again, this isn't a game. This is not a game. I'm not even going to go into a full analysis. Romania sucks. Then literally qualify. I don't know how they qualify. I genuinely don't know how they qualified. But, yo, kudos to them. It's really great what they've done, and I hope they've enjoyed their time in Paris and getting to have all the applaud and enjoy. Romania is a dope place. I love my Romanian friends out there. Scotland is about to run over them 66-0. All right, they are going to completely crush them like you are a stampeding horse from the Budweiser commercial with the Clydesdale. We're gonna run over them like Clydesdales over cobblestone, just straight bricking them. All right, so 66-0 on this one. Next up, you got Australia versus Portugal. This one, ironically, I don't know exactly what to make of it because I don't think Australia is playing for Eddie Jones anymore. I don't think they care. In fact, I think they're all ready to go back home. I think they've already given up. I think they saw the writing on the wall that they're not able to make it into the knockout stages, and they are just like, they're just in automatic mode in the sake of like they're capable of playing, but I don't think they have any passion. There's nothing going to be charging them. Portugal, on the other hand, I think Portugal is feeling the fact that they were so close to winning their first ever Rugby World Cup match versus Georgia, but those missed kicks killed them. I think Portugal's got some speed in the back. But that being said, Australia's still talented, and at its raw limit, I think they're still a better team than Portugal. I think Portugal is going to play nice and fast early because they're motivated. Australia's going to slag, and then they're going to feel their embarrassment kick in, and then all of a sudden, they're going to shoot it up. I think Australia takes this one in a closer than it should be, but not really close when it comes to the end. 35-3 versus Portugal, though I do think it's going to be like 9-10-3. No, 15-3 at halftime. But yeah, this is definitely like 35-3 match. Australia over Portugal. And then lastly, the final game, South Africa versus Tonga. Tonga's going to get destroyed. All right, Tonga, again, they play with heart, they play tough, but they don't have it. They don't got the talent. They don't got the speed. They don't got the size. South Africa is the vicious monster trying to eat everything. I think they're ruining the fact that they lost to Ireland. I think they're really pissed off that they missed kicks that could have taken them over, and I think they really hate the fact that most likely they're not going to like who they have to play in the quarterfinals because it's just unnecessarily more difficult than it needs to be. But I'm looking at South Africa to just absolutely crush and powder Tonga. 70, no, it's not going to be that high. Tonga's actually good. I think it'll be 55-17 South Africa over Tonga. Like, it's going to be crushing. I don't think it's going to be close at any point. I think there's going to be pity points at the end for Tonga, but it'll be a good fought game. But South Africa is they're a monster. They're absolute monsters. Like they do not care, and they have a mission of repeat. All right, like the Beast did not just simply leave whenever the Beast left South Africa. Oh man, what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts. Give it out that way, and look forward to hearing from you. All right. Our final segment of the day. Let's take a look at what the quarterfinals might be looking like right now, because I think we have some spots that we are for sure set about. Obviously, we just took care of some predictions, but it's going to speak volumes to what we have going on next over here. Quarterfinals. All right. First and foremost, look, to let you guys know, quarterfinals start October 12th. We got basically 2 weeks until it happens. It goes, the winner of Pool C is going to take on the runner-up of Pool D. Winner of Pool B will be in the same bracket side. And the winner of Pool B and the runner-up of Pool A will be on the same bracket side with winner of Pool C versus runner-up of Pool D. On the other side of the bracket, you got the winner of Pool D taking on the runner-up of Pool C in the same bracket as winner of Pool A taking on runner-up of Pool B. Now, this one, look, like I said, I think we already got some that are already set into place. I don't think there's any questions about that whatsoever. Like, it's obvious. I think, number one, the winner of Pool C is going to end up being Wales. All right? Wales has beat 3 people. They have nobody left. Like, the points might look like it's on their side. Yeah, there might be the, slightest of slight chances. No. Wales has the number one competition. They got the points. They got the wins. We know what it is. Now, I'm gonna just go through the pool winners. Winner of Pool B, I'm predicting it's Ireland. Obviously, they still have to beat Scotland, but I think that's a game that they're going to end up winning anyways. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be a tough one, but I think they ultimately end up winning it, getting the top seed position, and being able to move in on that Pool B winner. Winner of Pool D, this one is still up for grabs technically, but it's going to be England. England, I did not even think was going to come out of the competition. I thought they were in a rebuilding phase. I thought Samoa was going to be a lot better, but England surprised me. They're far more fit, far more put together than I expected them to be, and they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. So England's going to come out of this one, and I think this is going to be a great competition. This one is basically almost set. And then, of course, winner of Pool A, it's France. It's France. Like, it's going to be France. So there's not much to say on that one. They've done exactly. They beat their worst competition, which was their hardest competition, which was New Zealand right off the bat. Whoever won that game was going to be the top because everybody else is just stepping stones over them. Even with the loss of their captain, I don't think that anybody else in that group is going to do any damage for France whatsoever. So who cares? Now, on the other side of it, the runner-ups is still actually iffy. And even though I've said that there is the number one seeds for each of these group stages, but these runner-ups are still up in the air. Number one, I'm predicting today, all right? Today, it's the 16th. It's the 26th. Really, I guess 27th. But today, I have Japan getting the Pool D runner-up side, all right, coming up alongside with England. Now, obviously, it's really going to determine that they, one, beat Samoa, and, of course, they have to beat Argentina. I think Japan is a better team than both of those teams, and I think that they will actually end up getting it. I don't think they'll get extra points, but I think they'll beat both of those teams. So whenever it comes to the head-to-head and the points, I don't think it's even going to matter in that sense. But that is still very much up in the air. There's still a lot of game to play in that Pool D competition for the second place. But I'm predicting Japan to go in. Next, I got Ireland coming through. Not Ireland. New Zealand as the runner-up to Pool A. France is clearly number one. I don't think there's anybody that's going to be beating New Zealand. Of course, New Zealand has to beat Italy next, but that's basically it. And then after that, it's nothing. So if they do that, which they should do pretty handedly, New Zealand gets that runner-up B. So I'm predicting that they get that runner-up A position, taking on Ireland. Next up, runner-up for Pool C, Fiji. Again, Fiji just has to beat Georgia and Portugal. They're done with the hardest part of their competition. Lost to Wales, beat Australia. Boom. After that, dominate Portugal, dominate Georgia, get the bonus points, move on to the next round for the third time in Rugby World Cup history. So not much to be able to add to that. And then the runner-up for Pool B as of now is South Africa. Now, the only reason why there's questions on that is because this can go in a lot of different directions. Obviously, they lost close to Ireland, so Ireland is obviously most likely to end up getting this position. But if Ireland loses to Scotland and then loses again to if loses to Scotland and then South Africa is able to get the bonus points against Romania and gets the bonus points against Tonga. If they're able to get the bonus points against Romania and obviously get bonus points against Tonga, and Ireland loses to Scotland, I think South Africa very well has a chance to jump into that number one spot. Even though the head-to-head is going to, obviously put Ireland over South Africa, but those bonus points and the loss to Scotland might actually end up shifting the points over and giving South Africa a chance. I don't think it's likely, but it's a chance. So we'll see. But as of today, this is where I'm seeing the quarterfinals looking like. Let me know your thoughts on it, where you guys are feeling with it, and let's see what we can do with that. All right? Yo, and that's all we got for today. Y'all, I am so happy that you guys took the time to listen, pay attention. Please, of course, let me know what you guys think. Definitely tell your friends about the lowest rated Rugby Pro podcast in the world. And if you think that they're cool enough to be a part of it, let them jump in. Otherwise, don't even worry about it at all. Don't even worry about it. Let's have some fun. I appreciate you guys. And of course, please check out some of our past episodes. Definitely check out some of our past interviews. We're going to be getting these back up and going over the course of the next few weeks. But until then, man, I hope that you are happy. I hope that you are healthy. And most importantly, I hope that you know that you are highly favored. Until next time, cheers.